Well, here we are, the final stretch of the 2020 U.S. presidential campaign, and with just days to go before the November 3rd election date, both Joe Biden and Donald Trump are ramping up their campaign rallies, the two nominees hitting some key battleground states to shore up, perhaps find, their support. So, as people cast their judgment on the two candidates, how are they rendering their verdict on the media? For more on this, we're now joined by Jill Abramson in Boston. She's the former executive editor of the New York Times and the senior lecturer at Harvard University these days. Ms. Abramson, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Michael.
Here we are, as we say, just days away from Election Day in the United States. And, as we look at the media coverage of this campaign, I do wonder, as someone that looks at these matters, do you think members of the media have done a good, better, or worse job at covering the issues and the candidates when you compare it to 2016?
I think the coverage has been better. I think especially on enterprise stories like the New York Times getting hold of Trump's taxes when for years and years he's withheld them. The Times was able to show, how he's paid almost nothing in federal taxes. And, the Washington Post has performed a real public service by keeping track of the number of lies that have been told by both candidates. In the case of the president, I think they're now totaling over 21,000 different lies. But that kind of fact-checking is very valuable, and they've been doing it more in real time this election cycle.
Mm-hmm. Well, what's interesting there is that you're noting two members of the print media and not necessarily talking about the broadcast media. And I wonder what you think about that. What type of judgment do you render on the type of job that the mainstream broadcast media has done on this campaign?
I also think, that the broadcast media has improved. I think, both in the debates, I think two younger women, Savannah Guthrie and Kristen Welker, did fantastically as pretty aggressive moderators who forced the candidates to answer questions and stay on point and redirect them if they didn't. And I think that the networks in the U.S. have been helped by the fact that almost all of them now have 24-hour internet news sites attached to them. And so, they've had fairly muscular news gathering operations. So rather than simply showing you the stand-up speech of the day, they've been doing also more the story behind the story, digging into things. Mm-hmm. So I think they're improved too.
What do you think about the analysis, though, too? Because, it's interesting when you look at how the U.S. broadcast media provides analysis, in particular cable news outfits, it seems that those have become even more partisan this time around. I don't know if you agree with that.
I do. I think, they were partisan to begin with, if you go back to 2016. CNN less so than it is now. And of course, Jeff Zucker and CNN were bitterly criticized for not being tough enough on Donald Trump when he was a candidate and automatically broadcasting his rallies live, no matter whether they had a great deal of political substance or not. And now you see CNN kind of right there with MSNBC, being, quite liberal and quite pointed in criticisms of President Trump. And Fox, I think, is more Trump's Pravda than ever.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, we appreciate your insight into this. It's been very fascinating to watch this, and again, we'll probably do a postmortem at the end of this all. But Jill Abramson, thank you for this. Appreciate the time for now.
Thanks for having me.
And Ms. Abramson is a former executive editor of the New York Times, now a senior lecturer at Harvard University.